Thank you for joining me. Today, I'm going to show you how I did this pallet wall. I'm going to show you the whole process from start to finish. So if you have not already, please like the channel and subscribe. So let's get started. My daughter moved out into her own place, so I decided to use her old room and convert it into an office. So the first thing I did was I painted the walls, and the one wall I painted black. The reason for this is I'm going to do a pallet wall, so I'm going to walk you through step by step on how I did this. When my father passed away, I received his old planer. This had no dust collection whatsoever, so I 3D printed a dust shroud, and it worked perfectly. So my goal here was that I wanted the pallet boards to be somewhat smooth, and I also wanted them to be the same thickness. So it took a while, but I ran every board through the planer until I was happy with the thickness. One thing I noticed that each pallet board had one fairly straight side. So I marked each one that was the straightest side. Then I was able to run it down my table saw and try to cut every one of these boards to the same width. I ended up having 3 different widths. I had really wide boards, medium size, and thin. The really wide boards, I kept it for the first row where I leveled it on the wall. This was good, and it kept it uniform because I was putting a baseboard on this wall as well. Now that I'm happy with the thickness and also the width of each board, it's time to start applying stain. So I'm going to do different color variations of gray, whitewash, and then I'm going to keep some of the boards as a natural stain. So these are the finish, and this is the process that I went through. Now with some of the gray stains, I did leave it as is. Then some others I added the whitewash to give it a different color variation. Using a pencil, I marked off all my studs. I took the wider pallet boards and a level and made sure my first row was level. Like I stated earlier, the reason I put the wider boards on the bottom is because I will have a baseboard, and that'll give you a more uniform look to match the wall all the way up. So I took my time and I leveled each board and used a brad nailer to nail it in place right to the studs. The reason I painted the wall black behind the pallet wall is because the boards are not perfectly straight. So if there's any kind of cracks or deviations, the black should hide it. I didn't have to worry about the edges too much to cutting it in because the boards will cover that up. With the bottom row in place, it's just a matter of grabbing a different color and just nailing it up and going. This wall was very simple. The only thing I had to do was cut around one of the outlets. Everything else went up really fast and simple. I was able to keep moving, and whenever there was a cut to be made, I was able to keep going, and I didn't nail where the cuts were just in case I had to squeeze a board in. So what I did was I got to a certain point, then I made my cut so it was less trips down to the saw. A lot of my cutoffs on the right side ended up being my starter row on the left side. This way I didn't waste too much of the boards. This wall is 14 foot wide, 8 foot tall. I did break down 10 pallets. I did have some extra boards left over, so I ended up just using over 9 pallets. The big thing you want to do when you're nailing up these boards is to stagger your joints. You do not want your joints lining up with each other. But besides that, it's just one board after another, changing the colors, and many trips to the table saw. With the pallet wall, there's many ways to finish this. I chose to plane down my boards and make them smoother, not a rough finish. You can go natural, it has the rough texture to it. Some people like that. I'm really happy on how this turned out with the smooth finish, and all the boards were the same thickness. The very last row, I did have to rip the pallet boards down to about a 1 inch, but everything else turned out perfect. So there you have it, all the boards are up. I'm really happy on how it turned out. Next thing for me to do is to rip up the carpet, put down some hardwood flooring, and add my baseboard. Here is the finished room. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have not already, please like the channel and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.